Welcome to our session, How SUSE and Intel Enable the Journey to SAP S/4HANA Together. I'm Stefan Englet, the Global SUSE Account Director, and I'm co-presenter with my fearless partner in crime.
Yeah, I'm Krüger. I'm the tech lead on our team SAP, taking care of all the technical alignment between SAP, Intel, and its partners. Back to you, Stefan.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so let's just jump right in, I'd say. SUSE and Intel are long-time peer-to-peer engineering level partners focused on joint solutions from the edge to core to cloud. We are strategically aligned for decades and deliver innovative hardware and software solutions. Both Intel and SUSE have significant strategic relationships with SAP. And as SAP expands its solutions ecosystem, we continue to collaborate in incorporating Intel latest silicon and software into the SUSE software stack. So on this slide, you see the 6 key challenges you as a customer have to face. And we want to go a bit, into the specifics of each of these. So fast insights. Migrating SAP S/4HANA to the public cloud must be fast with near-time insights because SAP workloads are mission critical, impacting multiple areas of an enterprise like supply chain, payroll, and others. High availability. SAP S/4HANA is mission critical, as I just outlined, so downtime of these deployments must be avoided when possible and minimized when it's not. Disaster recovery. S/4HANA services and data must be restored as quickly as possible and in the event of disruptions or disasters. Scalability. Moving SAP S/4HANA to the cloud must deliver near unlimited scalability, enabling enterprises to scale their infrastructure needs up or down based on market needs. Less administrative effort. The administrative time and effort must be reduced using automation and eliminating architectural complexity wherever possible. And then lastly, security. So mission critical S/4HANA services and data must be protected from hackers and other bad actors at all time. So you see, together, SUSE and Intel help organizations overcome these challenges for smooth, efficient migration of S/4HANA on-premise and in the cloud. But that's just a first overview. So Jan, he's going to take you further down into the details.
Thank you, Stefan. So let's get into those 6 key challenges and how SUSE and Intel and other partners have worked together to help you resolve those. So first, near real-time insights, right? So one of the most important goals when migrating SAP S/4HANA is really getting fast data out of the system and getting real value out of those data in a near real-time manner. But in today's competitive business environment, really organizations don't have the time for long product procurement cycles or slow implementation or other sorts of issues. So you need the software and hardware technologies to be pre-integrated and validated and ready to go so that you can get your business value quickly out of an S/4HANA on this environment. So SUSE Linux Enterprise Server and Intel technologies have been pre-integrated, and together we really allow you to automate the installation of the entire SAP software stack as well as the configuration management. And the SUSE Linux Enterprise Server for SAP application is using key Intel technologies and is enabling key Intel technologies for SAP HANA and SAP's application server sitting on top of it to run at a blazing speed as well as highest resiliency and security, which I will cover in a bit later. But all that together really allows you to get near real-time insights at a faster pace as your competition. The second challenge, which is most important to you as an enterprise is high availability. So by moving S/4HANA on-premise onto the cloud or use a hybrid setup, high availability and resiliency is one of the key principles and the key requirements you have. SUSE is providing for the high availability needs three main building blocks. One is really pre-built images that keep your services available, and those images are built based on best practices by SUSE, Intel, and SAP, obviously, so that an automated failover takes place in a secure manner. The second part is really the clustering, so that SAP can run in various clustered scenarios on physical or virtual servers, and that applies to SAP HANA as a database, to NetWeaver servers, to S/4 application servers, and any other service you run on this environment. The third bullet is really built-in maintenance capabilities to avoid issues and troubleshoot problems quickly. So SUSE is providing a set of tools to check the high availability configurations before you go live, so that you know that your installation, your configurations are all right. We come back to this a little bit later, because SUSE and Intel have been partnering to even further enhance the insights into your platform. When it comes to high availability, there is also an Intel technology called Intel Optane persistent memory available at the hyperscalers and on-premise, obviously, which is a different memory technology which allows you to reduce your recoverable time object or meet the recoverable time object objectives, which is basically the time you have until the system needs to be recovered before a failover scenario is initialized. And Optane persistent memory allows you to really get a service back in operation within minutes rather than in hours, especially as SAP HANA needs to load all the data on a failure back into memory. The third challenge is, and we touched on this already a little bit, the disaster recovery. So as Gartner and other say, IT downtime costs an average, the average organization $5,600 per minute. So you can make the math, and especially with SAP HANA, which is usually your backbone of your organization, any minute counts, regardless of whether this price is this what Gartner concluded or even higher. That really depends on your business impact. So SUSE Linux Enterprise Server for SAP application automatically installs and configures SAP clusters, including those HA clusters, as I mentioned before, in an optimal way. SUSE eliminates all the type-consuming, labor-intense manual processes and errors associated with these processes, so that in case a disaster recovery needs to take place, it will fail or it will not be ideal. So SUSE is eliminating this problem with all the pre-built know-how into the platform. As I mentioned earlier, Intel Optane persistent memory is then hardware technology, memory technology, which helps SAP HANA to recover much quicker in case of a failure. And that is really allowing you to reduce that restart time to minutes rather than hours. And especially for those customers among you which have a large HANA installation of multiple terabytes, you know that it takes quite some time to load the data fresh from the storage back into memory, which is really time consuming and affecting your time to recover. With Optane, that problem is addressed. The fourth challenge here is the scalability part. On an on-premise installation, scalability is basically done by adding more equipment, more hardware into your data center to scale out or scale up a system, an S/4HANA system. In the cloud, that goes along with subscribing additional services, whether these are then AWS EC2 instances or Azure instances or Google instances. But the challenge around scalability is relevant to both worlds. SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, in collaboration with Intel, has paired the software know-how and the Intel technologies into an environment which allows you to scale and build on open standards and really utilize the large footprint with the pre-validated images I mentioned earlier from SUSE Linux Enterprise Server for SAP applications, as well as benefit from the wide range of Intel-based instances and certified appliances for on-premise installations, which gives you really that whole stack fully optimized from hardware to software and to SAP workload at the end of the day. So this is really allowing you to scale up to the largest data sets or database sizes like 24 terabyte or even beyond in the scale out scenario. And all of that fully optimized from hardware to software. This also allows you to implement multi-cloud scenarios. So if you are an international company who is distributed in China, in the United States, and in Europe, you might consider using different offerings in the marketplace. You might have your US infrastructure on an Azure infrastructure. You have your EMEA system on an AWS infrastructure. And you have in China, you're using Ali Cloud for your SAP infrastructure. With the pre-integration of Intel hardware with the hyperscalers and SUSE's operating system in conjunction with SAP HANA and S/4HANA and other applications, we can provide that scalability you need to set up an internationally connected and scalable environment so that your organization can operate on it and you're not down to I can only use one of the available offerings, or I'm not able to enter certain markets. If you consider opening up another instance in South America, for example, or in Africa, and you don't have those type of hyperscalers there, then you might want to use another one which has been pre-integrated with Intel and SUSE. So this is really helping you to scale out your environment across the world and be ahead of your competition when needed. So as I touched on this a little bit already, but when it comes down to why really Intel, SUSE, and SAP come together in the cloud and what are your benefits of it? The benefits are around three major points, let's say. One is really that you have that single source of truth where you can deploy your SAP landscape in an environment with massive capacity, massive performance, and really get closer to your goals of having all your data at your fingertips and get the time to value reduced so that your business values can grow from these faster insights and you are ahead of your competition. The second part is really that you get in safe, future-proof environment for your cloud investment. Because as I mentioned a little bit earlier, Intel has providing over the last years the largest set of instances certified by SAP with all the major cloud providers SAP is working with. So you find a wide range from very small to very large instances with high performance, medium, or small performance, depending on your needs, in a scalable manner, pre-certified. And this is in conjunction with the SUSE Linux operating system and especially SUSE Linux for SAP applications, so that you get the fully integrated stack where you can deploy automatically with the SUSE tools an SAP landscape and remove all these undifferentiated efforts from your operations. And the third one is really around consolidation or a simplified SAP HANA landscape. With the wide range of capabilities in terms of instances available and capabilities like high availability, disaster recovery, optimized RTO with Intel Optane persistent memory at the hyperscalers, you can achieve a high return on your cloud investment, and it's future-proof because Intel is still powering most of the cloud and has this wide range of instances. So you can be safe that in a couple of years from now, you will still have an ideal environment for your SAP landscape. However, it will look like at that time. It might grow. You might do an acquisition which needs to be integrated. And then you can use the benefits of being in the cloud, of being flexible to scale out and scale in, or optimize your environment depending on your needs, in conjunction with our certified infrastructure. So you combine both worlds, the cloud benefits, with what SUSE, Intel, and SAP jointly work together for your environment. All of this, at the end of the day, is also reducing your total cost of ownership, because you can build very large systems in the cloud. You can benefit from the cloud capabilities to scale out quicker. You have this international footprint very quickly, and all of this together is also reducing your operational efforts to run this environment, to operate the environment, to optimize your disaster recovery, high availability capabilities. All of that is going to reduce your total cost of ownership. I mentioned that a bit already, that with this in particular collaboration and partnership we have, there is a reduced administrative effort. And to dive a little bit deeper into it, because that is an area where SUSE and Intel had been investing over the last couple of years significantly. So this is all about automating the configuration management to a central managed and automated distribution environment. And SUSE is providing for these purposes two things. So one, the SAP application wizard, which is really reducing the complexity of clustering your SAP HANA updates and installations. You can automate the operations most efficiently. And the IT stuff, which is already limited in time, let's say, can really spend their time on really important tasks, and not so much time on repetitive, time-consuming reconfiguration and setting up tasks, which can be done automatically, much more efficiently and more accurately, because no human error can apply. So it is, at the end of the day, reducing that administrative effort. Secondly, SUSE and Intel both offer these certified platform I mentioned quite some time back, that streamline really the deployment process and the operation of S/4HANA and other applications from SAP. Intel is also providing a wide range of telemetry information, which are either consumed by hyperscaler tools or by SUSE themselves. And this brings us to a recent announcement or recent launch of the SUSE Trento platform. You find also another session which is going deeper into the Trento product. To give you just a little preview of what Trento is providing to you, it is helping you to operate your environment on day one, enhanced with Intel hardware telemetry. As illustrated here, we are providing various information about failures happen, memory performance metrics, and other data points about the network, which are all three most important to your SAP landscape. Those hardware telemetry information are injected into the SUSE Linux Enterprise server, which is then collecting them through the collectee service, and is able to store and process that information. On top of it is now SUSE Trento, which is basically gives you a very free SAP landscape operations, because it is taking those hardware measurements and telemetry information to really prevent downtime. So to alarm you before something goes wrong. It allows you to maintain certain SLAs in terms of operations, because you will be able to react quickly to issues arising. And it also detects resource constraints. In the cloud, you need to have a close eye on these constraints, because if you are doing an acquisition and adding more workload into your system, then you might run out on CPU cycles, or you might run out on memory, or you might have a bottleneck on the network. Those type of information are then quickly being visualized through SUSE Trento. But more on that in the other session you find at SUSECON this year. So please have a look there to get further information. At last, security and resiliency. Well, security is vital when migrating SAP S/4HANA on-premise and in the cloud. Organizations need to protect their workloads against attacks and against actors who are trying to steal the data. So SUSE Linux Enterprise Server for SAP application includes already a few technologies to reduce the threat surface. One is the live Linux kernel patching, which is really a challenge in a production system. If you have a kernel vulnerability or a zero day, then it's very important to patch that quickly. Well, if you don't have live patching, you really need to patch your server. You need to plan on this update window. You need to have a forceful swap to your secondary system, patch your primary system, swap back, and do the same thing on the secondary one. That's a lot of effort. A lot of failure can occur. With SUSE Linux live patching, you don't need all of that. You can patch a server, as the name implies, while running, and no reboot is required. And that's good enough for a year. So this is really helping you to beef up the security or reduce the threat surface on your environment. The other aspect is really here that SUSE Linux also provides additional firewall capabilities along with disk encryption, which really protects the data, right? On top of that, SAP HANA itself and SAP solutions are making use of a couple of particular Intel security technologies. One of them being our AAS instruction set, and the other one being the advanced vector extensions, which are both accelerating crypto algorithms, hashing algorithm, and other things which SAP HANA is using to protect the data. And those are pre-integrated into SUSE Linux Enterprise Server with best performance in mind, so that HANA can utilize them on this stack and further reduce the threat surface on your environment. So there are many more things we do, but that's just as a nutshell to give you an insights of additional security capabilities we apply. Combined with the security capabilities cloud service providers are offering, you can really reduce your threat surface and be secure by running your S/4HANA system in the cloud. With that said, I would hand it back to Stefan to close it and wrap us up and take it from here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jan, for outlining how to overcome these challenges. I mean, I have now a pleasure to just summarize what you said. I mean, basically, by the combined efforts of SUSE and Intel, you find ways to deploy SAP S/4HANA quickly, maintain high availability, manage to rapid recover from disasters. Hopefully you'll have none, but nonetheless, scale cost effectively, reduce the administrational effort, and protect your workloads against cybercrime. So that probably is as good as it gets. So thanks for taking the time and listening to us. I do hope that you get some valuable insights from this presentation. And speaking of valuable insights, we have a bit more to offer. So you see here 4 more sessions that SUSE and Intel is entertaining at SUSECON, so feel free to pop by and listen to them as well. And also join us at our virtual booth. And if you have the need for further information, I would like to understand a bit more how Intel works together with SUSE. You'll find more content on suse.com/Intel. And I guess that's all from Jan and I. So again, we appreciate the time that you've taken and wish you a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good remaining day.